John Karanja from BitHub Africa, speaking about driving sustainable energy adoption across Africa using blockchain technology. You ready, John?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Igor. I'm going to share my presentation.
Please.
You guys can tell me if you can see.
Yeah, if you can go full screen.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So I'm currently in Kajiado, a rural part of Kenya. So I'm hoping my data connection holds up. Just to pick over from where the previous panel left. Yes. So my name is John Karanja. I'm the CEO of Melanin Solar, which is a startup based here in Nairobi, Kenya. And it's also part of BitHub Africa, which is more sort of well-known than Melanin Solar. And we've been driving sort of blockchain adoption across the African continent. So my presentation is on driving sustainable energy adoption across Africa using blockchain technology. So the goal of Melanin Solar is to connect about 500,000 households across the African continent on a distributed peer-to-peer energy marketplace. And we use blockchain technology to allow for the energy sharing and digital energy storage using a cryptocurrency mining concept. And I'll be taking you guys through how that works. But first, the problem we're trying to solve is a huge deficit in terms of energy access on the African continent. We have about 65% of people across Africa who do not have access to reliable energy. And at the same time, the market is a huge market. It's a market that is estimated to be worth $2 trillion if it's fully developed. And our goal is really to address some of the challenges that have been faced in the sector. And the main challenge that we have is, if you look at how, for example, solar energy solutions are being adopted across Africa, they use a debt-driven model. So for example, my grandmother in the village, she doesn't have electricity, but would like to have access to electricity. A solar vendor comes to her and tells her, I'm going to install this solar system in your house. It's worth $1,200, and you're going to pay me back over 18 months. And most of the people rely on seasonal income from farming activities. So you find a lot of them are not able to keep up with the payments, and they end up in a situation called debt distress. But at the same time, we have a saying in Africa where we say, the sun shines brightest in Africa. This should be a resource that people are harnessing and benefiting from using sort of asset-driven models, because it's an asset that we have. So we believe, and we actually building the technology that leverages blockchain to allow for the monetization of this asset through a process we call tokenization. So how do we achieve this? The background is essentially based on a concept we call cryptocurrency mining, which was brought about by Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first sort of digital currency that is created through a process called mining. So just to briefly describe mining, it's a process where you have computers running algorithms that are looking for specific hashes, which are like rare numbers. And the first computer that discovers that particular hash wins a reward in form of digital tokens that I believe I was talking about in the previous panel. And these tokens represent sort of value because a lot of energy has gone into sort of generating those tokens. So they're essentially a transfer of electricity into a digital form, if you think about it. And there's this great article by the World Economic Forum in 2018 that sort of explains the reasoning behind this new sort of model, tokenization model. And you could probably Google the title there, and you'll be able to see sort of the concept in its bare form. So if we just take a moment and look at Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ecosystem has been growing for around 12 years. And we've seen sort of a lot of hula baloo around how much energy that Bitcoin mining in particular uses around the world. And a lot of people sort of look at it in terms of waste. And this has come up recently because of Elon Musk, who recently sort of made a similar comment. So essentially, Bitcoin mining is happening across the world, but more notably in China, which has about 50% of the hash power on the network. And you find that 75% of the energy that's used in China comes from renewable sources, in particular hydroelectric dams. So what happens is you have big dam projects in China, and these dams are usually idle because they're being built in anticipation of growth of cities. And you find that people come and now use the energy that's idle there to mine Bitcoin. And so what has happened is, because of the profitability of mining Bitcoin over the past decade, those dams have become more viable. So you find that Bitcoin mining has accelerated the adoption of hydro energy in those regions of China. And the same concept is being used across the world. For example, in Iceland, they use geothermal energy. In the United States, they use the grid, which I believe is powered by nuclear energy. So you find that Bitcoin sort of makes more efficient the use of idle energy or idle energy capacity. The other reason why we see Bitcoin mining as a net positive in terms of energy adoption is, you find the Bitcoin network is being used as a settlement monetary network, and it's very efficient. You could move billions of dollars at a very low cost, and that essentially will replace the brick and mortar legacy system that we have today. So if you think of any big city around the world, including Nairobi, the biggest buildings are usually banks. So these banks and data centers use heavy amounts of electricity. And what's happening is, what they're doing, sort of the protocols that they use are going to be replaced by blockchain-based protocols on the internet, or internet-based protocols, what we call money over IP. So I think the best example for this is, if you look at the peer-to-peer volumes of remittances in Nigeria, you find that Bitcoin is increasingly, the use of Bitcoin is increasing. And just today, I think the Nigerian Central Bank is relooking its policy on how they can use cryptocurrencies to become more efficient. And the Nigerians in particular moved about $500 million in the year 2020. And this is also at very low costs. So we are seeing Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are changing the way value is transferred over the internet, and doing so very efficiently using energy. So when you come to what we're doing at Melanin Solar, we're taking the same concept and miniaturizing it based on efficient CPU mining. So we have devices that we are deploying, that we are testing actually here on site, that essentially allow people who are running solar systems to monetize the energy using digital tokens. And this particular protocol has been developed by engineers around the world. I believe our network is over 15 countries at the moment. It was launched in last year in 2020, and we'll have a 20-year mining schedule. So we're looking at seeing this paradigm shift between the adoption of blockchain-based energy solutions over the next 20 years. And it's going to be part of what we call the fourth industrial revolution, in terms of using processing power to advance solutions for different areas. And this also ties in with AI and other processor-based innovations. So the protocol is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, where we're looking at innovation, we're looking at sustainable communities, we're looking at industries that are based on renewable energy. So the opportunity is huge. Like I mentioned before, in Africa, the market is currently valued at $60 billion. but it has a $2 trillion market potential. And we have vendors across the African continent that have deployed solar systems on 700,000 sites, mainly across 7 countries that are listed there. So we're looking over the next few years to deploy and test this system. And what we'll do, this will create sort of a common market on the internet for energy, where energy tokens can be traded peer-to-peer. And this is the first time that this has happened globally. And the estimate is, if for each of these households, the adoption of these solar systems running on blockchain solutions will increase the average income by about $100, which is sufficient to lift households out of poverty by going by today's rates. So the distributed energy solution, the various components are: it removes trust barriers because they're using blockchain for accountability. It brings down transactional costs because the cost of transferring a token over a network is quite low. And it's providing communities direct access to solar energy, which they have a huge sort of, they're resource rich in terms of solar energy. And more importantly, we create a global open peer-to-peer marketplace where energy is being traded. Yeah, so how do we achieve this? It's very important to bring on board as many people as possible. So our methodology at Melanin Solar is to train blockchain engineers in our academy. We've been able to train a number of engineers for the past 3 years. And these engineers not only build the system, because the system is open source, they also maintain and deploy the system. So this is actually an image of where I am at the moment, where we've installed one of our systems. On the left, we have some of our engineers. They're essentially software engineers as well as electrical engineers. And we're looking to train about 2,000 over the next few years to support an ecosystem of 500,000 nodes, as I mentioned before. So if you are interested with working with us, as I mentioned before, these blockchain systems are open source. You can visit the protocol website. We have a huge community from around the world. The website is www.wive.io. And you can also visit our engineering program, which is at melanin.academy. And my email is there, so you can also probably get in touch with me. So in short, there's a great, huge opportunity. And I want to thank the organizers of the Futurism Forum, Igor, because I mean, this is a great initiative that will bring people together and where we're able to exchange ideas and knowledge and form partnerships on using this disruptive technology. So I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks for sharing with us the blockchain technology we use in the sustainable energy. This is very important, and I think this is a great leapfrog example. Good job on what you do, and keep doing the good thing for the communities in East Africa. Good job.